Thanks for your interest and time. I think there's just 2 speakers before lunch from now, so please keep on listening. If you have any questions, I only have 20 minutes and it's counting down. So we have a booth next out the door, so any questions maybe you can ask also there. Let's see how much time we have left. So this is really about digital banking. You heard a lot of like think, but a lot of topics, and you will hear a lot of topics which are maybe more on the front side of the bank. And the topic I will address is really on digital core banking. So maybe anything but the front, but I will go to in more details like on that. Just a quick introduction on 5 Degrees, on the company. So we're based in Amsterdam. We have 4 offices in Europe, 180 people. So, I mean, we exist since 2010. So we don't consider ourselves as a startup anymore. I guess a scale-up would be a better definition for our company. Because already almost 20 banks rely on our software for their, existence as a bank. So that's quite something. Well, we have good growth and a very strong ecosystem, and I will go into that in a bit more detail. And this topic is about new generation digital banking. You will hear today about all the trends, and I won't bother you with, things you probably have heard in many conferences, and as I said also today, but just to go very quickly through them. Of course, there are many drivers for existing banks with, I guess, mostly existing back offices, legacy systems, which are a bit old, to say it politely. And so there might be some issues, and there are lots of challenges for the banks who have not done anything on that front. For example, compliance. You need to, get ready for PSD2, for GDPR. So much stuff going on which you have to implement, so that must be really difficult. When I say you, I'm talking to you as a bank, but there might be also consulting companies, of course, who are working with banks on the same issues. Of course, competition is coming up, fintechs with competitive products, but also the Googles, the Amazons, they will hunt your customers, hunt for your customers, and they have a lot of customer information, of course, so they will be coming up as a competitor in your market. New technology, a lot of that is also discussed today. It's artificial intelligence, it's APIs, it's blockchain. Somehow you need to implement it, but how difficult is it probably when your landscape of IT systems is still in another era, I would almost say. Of course, the revenue could be under pressure. There will be, how fast can you bring a new product to the market? What is your time to market? I'm sure that's a big issue for a bank. How do you get your 360 degrees view for your end customer? How do you, you can probably represent it, but how do you aggregate all that information from your back office systems? So again, a challenge as we look at it. And the last point is, of course, cost. You might have heard this a dozen times, but still a lot of banks use 80% of their budget on maintaining their core systems and only have 20% for innovation. So of course you want to change that. That's a story I've heard in my quite long career in more IT side of financial services, but still this is very much the case. This is a nice business case. I will put it all on the screen in the US, and they have compared let's say, an incumbent existing bank to a digital bank. And well, you can read it yourself. Just the onboarding process, there can be a 75 times difference in how cheap you could have done it if you would be like a full digital bank. Of course, there's the branches. You don't need all these branches anymore. Of course, that's a choice. and have a look at the transaction cost per transaction. That's a huge difference. So I'm not saying, I guess these are like the ultimate sides of the equation, but the differences are really huge. So I think every bank has to think about how do I get closer to the lower cost, of course. And then a lot of the bank employees do a lot of low value work, and for sure there's a lot of cost to save. So, having a nice internet bank, having a good app of your bank. I mean, I'm a ING customer, so of course I have a very nice app. And of course I can do fancy stuff on the website. But does that really make a bank into a digital bank? Any bank has this modern front, for sure. But what about this? I don't want to insult the bankers, but it's just fact of life. The back, everything behind that nice front is really, I think in most banks, a bit messy, a bit old, legacy, spaghetti, we have lots of words for it. And that is really the topic we as a company are now facing and also having a solution for. So coming back to sort of what is actually true digitization, of course it's all about the customer intimacy, this 360 view. How do you get that information to be represented before the customer? Agility, time to market, flexibility, of course that is what should true digitization have as a result. And then this end-to-end digital banking, so not only the front but everything behind, and I'll come back to that. And of course you want to have an architecture which is future-proof, which can also, well, help you for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So coming a bit closer to the inevitable, also showing you that we have a solution for it. So I guess we talked a lot of interesting topics, but I also really want to make it concrete and talk about our solution for this digital core banking. And we think there is really a need for intelligent orchestration. Of course, banking once was simple. You just went to a branch and then you got a mobile phone maybe. Some channels came to it. And then things got really complex. Like probably most banks now, especially the bigger banks, have very complicated ESB layers. They have a CRM system, a BPM system. You might have Salesforce or Pega, all really great systems. But it's complex. And for a big tier 1 bank, it might work. But certainly for a mid-sized bank, it might be too complex, but it for sure is very expensive to have a landscape like that. So we think there could be a need, or there is a need for intelligent orchestration, as we call it. So an integrated middle office with all that functionality integrated. So nothing like an ESB, it's just there and it's integrated from scratch. So our philosophy is really a 3-tier architecture in a bank. And we believe in this orchestration layer sitting in the middle, having all the customer data and having all the process data. So lots of banks have siloed systems where in every silo there is customer data, there is process data. So somehow you have to bring this together in a one representation of the truth on the front. And so we believe, I mean, it's easier to have it at one place, and that for us is in the middle. That's what we call the client and orchestration layer. So there's a CRM functionality and a business process management functionality integrated in the mid. Meaning that, or as a conclusion, is that you on the front only need a very thin presentation layer. So also in the presentation layer, there should not be client data or any process data. That's really in the middle. So you can have a very thin presentation of what is the truth in the mid. But the same is for your core banking systems, like your product systems. That is also that should also be a very lean and mean product system. You have to define a product, and you have to somehow manage the life cycle of a product, but that's it. No client data, no process data. That's all in the middle. That's really our philosophy on how a digital bank, how a bank should look like. So, we have a product for that. You are not surprised, I hope. And we call it Matrix. And in this case, this product is called Matrix Mid. So this actually is this orchestration layer, the intelligent orchestration layer, with the functionalities you can see. I won't go into all the details, but it is a CRM, BPM, and a document management fully integrated. So we didn't buy any external system and put it in. We have built this from scratch, and we built this for a bank. So it's really only built for a bank, and it has also a full process model of banks in it. So it's, you could maybe say it's a bank in a box. So if you want to start a new bank, it's all the processes are there. Of course, you want to change stuff. Well, that's something we have built editors and configurators for. What we also, as a principle, call business enablement. So we have functionality. As a banker, you can change the functionality. You don't always have to go to your IT department. That's very important for us, also as a philosophy. Well, there's some functionality also on communication management. So there's the storage of all the communication you have with the end customer. On the financial management, a 360 view. There's a specific functionality for that. And of course, there is security layer on who can do what in the bank. Around this, there's this API and integration layer, because we do not build the full functionality like maybe a big monolithic core banking supplier will do. Also, our philosophy is here to work with app vendors, and I will show you, I will get the whole picture on the screen. So all the black boxes are not what we do, but we connect to all these vendors, functionalities. So for example, KYC check, maybe you want to somehow work with a blockchain functionality. You probably want to connect to a telephony system. So we have all kinds of existing APIs, and that is building the total functionality of a core bank. What we don't do is the front, because we think that's very cultural. I'm sure in Germany there are many suppliers who build very nice fronts, and so we have said, okay, we'll just send out a service, a technology like a SOAP or a RESTful service, and they can pick it up and build a nice internet bank or an app. What we do have is a portal for the bank employer, but actually the bank employer will work with this system. So there is a portal which they can work with these editors, with the business process manager, well, in their daily lives. I also already got a question this morning. So, does a bank just totally have to get rid of their legacy systems? No. So the two boxes below is, on the right side, you see existing and legacy backend. So most of our customers actually keep their core banking systems like Sopra or Temenos or iFlex, and they just put our Matrix Mid on top of it to open up to the, let's say, modern world, to get this one view of the customer. At least to have this, the customer on one place, and to open up to this fintech environment. We call ourselves the fintech engineers. So you can just put it on your existing system, where we also have made connections, and then there's all kinds of scenarios possible how to go on this digital journey. And maybe first you get all the customer data out of your existing systems, then you might want to start automating processes or changing the process information from the back into the mid. So at the end, the back office will be light, and you can even get rid of it. And then we will have our second product, which is Matrix Accounts. So we have our own back office product system, which is on the left side. I'll come up with another slide on that. Which is this, a savings product or a loans product or a security product. So many of our customers are existing banks who want to start on this digital journey, start with Matrix Mid. But we also have, for example, ABN AMRO. I'll come with some examples. Here in Germany, they launched a wealth management portal called Prospery. You might know it. So they built it on top of our solution. So they didn't want to use anything existing. They also didn't want to use their own IT department. They just got a lot of money and built this thing, this bank in Germany. And that's where Matrix Mid is inside. So just showing you this matrix accounts, which then is this lean and mean back office. With the product builder, you have somehow to define your savings product, define your loan, define your mortgage. Again, this is a very intuitive drag and drop way of defining a product. If you're interested, we can show you also a quick demo, of course. And then you have the flavors, of course, all kinds of loans, investments, leasing, savings, current accounts, and of course the payments are also dealt with this back office part of our products. I have to watch the time. So as I said, we have a whole existing ecosystem of partners, of fintechs, of companies we already connected to, because we have all these 20 banks, and they have chosen all these functionalities or all these vendors in their architecture. So that's an existing bucket of APIs, as you would maybe say it. And I wanted to show this, at least that's on our roadmap. The future we see is that if you build a bank from scratch, well, hopefully you will do this with this Matrix Mid orchestration hub, and then you think, okay, I need a KYC check, and I will use vendor A. I need a token, I need vendor B, and it's in a sort of app store. You go there, you find it, you drag and drop it into your system landscape. We have built the API, you drag and drop it, you pay a subscription. We have to figure out how we do this, but we will do the whole payment of this functionality with those vendors, and you just go to this app store and find your functionality. That's the way we look at it, and that's a project we are doing at the moment. So a few examples to finish off. The good news is that every project we started was a success. I will not say that everything on the way was a success. There's always some bumps, but at least everything went live and is still live. So I guess that's good news. I'll just go very quickly, also because of time, through some of the existing customers and examples or reasons why they chose us or why they went for this digital journey. So Prospery in Germany, it's still, of course, a Dutch customer, but they are here, and if they get successful, which I guess is a bit questionable at the moment, also go to other countries with this setup. But here you will see we are the core of their solution, but they connect with like Ortec. It's a personal financial planning functionality. We don't do this, but there's like very good breed, best of breed in the market, and that's where we connect. Another one is Knap. You might not have heard it. It's, by the way, the logo is bank the other way around. So it's in Holland. It's the most successful digital bank. It's a daughter of Aegon Insurance. So they started this digital bank from scratch. It's our launching customer, by the way. And so in the meantime, we are connecting more than 40 systems, apps, fintechs as part of their full functionality. But still in the back, they want us to use Sopra Thaler as a back office, because that was the incumbent there. But hopefully in due of time, we can also exchange that. So just, I see my time is up, but just show you some logos. So TD Bank just entered the European market. They will open up savings banks and later on loan banks, banks with loan products. So also they chose Matrix as their orchestration hub for the bank. Another German subsidiary of LeasePlan, the largest leasing company in the world, I think, at the moment. They started savings banks in Holland, but also in Germany. So that's also something from scratch they built. We have a robo-advisory website with video, chat box, all kinds of information. Have a look at the website. It's also something we built, but of course connected to all this functionality. A Belgian bank coming to Holland. And also here we are more or less replacing Sopra Thaler. Seems to be quite an incumbent back office system, in at least in Holland. So we are replacing this. They are just disentangling the functionality in our system. Van Lanschot, for the private bankers under you, it's the second largest private bank. Actually, ABN AMRO is the biggest private bank because they bought the biggest private bank in Holland. Van Lanschot is the oldest one and second largest, and they also have very old landscape, and now they actually wanted to get rid of Siebel for their CRM. They bought us, and now they are also automating all kinds of processes from their back office system into our BPM layer. Last one, Garanti Bank, which is a Turkish bank. I'm sure in Germany there's also a lot of Turks, so we also have a lot of Turkish people in Holland, so we have a lot of Turkish banks. They were recently bought by BBVA, so that's a nice label to have. So they also use us. So I guess this statement is hopefully resonating with you. We don't really fight the old, but we build the new. Have a look at our website for sure also, but have a look at our stand. We're just outside that door. We can go a bit more in depth, have questions, can do a demo, and thank you very much for your attention.